Hi guys, it's Cassandra and I'm back with another video. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys my wrap up from the past few months. So last year wasn't really a good reading year for me. So instead of just making a video for one or two books, I decided to combine a few months instead. So today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that I read in November, December, and January. Sadly, back in November, I only read one book, which is not something I'm proud of. The book that I read in November was Dominion by j.kowallis. This is the fourth book in the Inertia Trials. It's a dystopian series, so if you're into that, I definitely recommend it. I gave Dominion 5 out of 5 stars, and I just remembered that I haven't written reviews for all of the books that I'm going to be talking about today, so if I do have a review for them, I'm going to be linking it down below, but I will get to the other book reviews very soon. Anyway, this series follows a few characters who have superpowers. The first one follows our main character who sees visions, and I'm obsessed with this world. Journey really knows how to encompass the gritty and brutal aspects of a dystopian world. I was absolutely amazed by her writing style. I honestly can't give this author enough praise. Next up, I read Sun Warrior by P.C. Cast, and this is the sequel to Moon Chosen. So I'm not going to go over the plot of this book, but the first book follows Mari, who is an Earthwalker, and it follows Nick, who is the son of the leader of a rival tribe, who have companions that are canines. There's not much I can tell you about the series without giving it all away, but I'm just going to say that there are quite a few different point of views in this story. I ended up giving this 4.5 out of 5 stars only because, like the first book, I had a little difficulty getting into it. They do tend to start a bit slow for me. I love the villain here because he actually scares me to death, and usually I love villains, but this one I hate with a passion, and we actually do get a point of view from that villain. But I do definitely recommend this series. They are large books, but they are definitely worth the read. Next up, I read Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This book follows a character that is obsessed with true crime and ends up going to a private school. She takes it upon herself to solve one of the most infamous American crimes that happened at the private school that she's actually going to, and is told from past and present events, and I absolutely loved both timelines. This is actually going to be a trilogy, so there is definitely a cliffhanger, but I can't recommend this enough. As a true crime fan myself, I actually enjoyed this so much, and you guys need to read it. Next up, I read Almost Midnight by Rainbow Rowell. This is a combination of 2 short stories. What I love about this book is that it actually has illustrations. So even though I already read Kindred Spirits before this one, I got to read it all over again in a whole new way. So Midnights is about a girl and a guy who are friends and basically spend a bunch of New Year's Eves together. And each chapter is a different year, and we get to see how their dynamic changes in every year. I honestly wish we could have gotten an actual novel because I really ended up loving them and giving this 4.5 out of 5 stars. And Kindred Spirits is about this girl and this guy who meet at the movie theater while they're waiting in line for a movie premiere. Next up, I read Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Sapia. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and it follows this creator of a famous webcomic who keeps her real identity a secret, but she meets this guy who is a huge fan of her webcomic. Both of the lives that she's living come together in a disastrous kind of way. I do want to say that there should be some trigger warnings for suicide, and basically with that, I'm just going to say that the second half of this book was completely brutal. It opened up old wounds that I didn't expect were going to be opened. I just thought this was going to be a quick, cute, fluffy read, but it proved me wrong, and I still loved it. It also includes illustrations from the webcomic that she created. Next up, I read Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hawking. This is a Valkyrie retelling, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It's going to be a duology, and the second book is coming out pretty soon. It follows a girl who is studying to become a Valkyrie, and I just love all the different creatures that we get to meet in this novel. From the very first page, I was completely obsessed. It's also pretty diverse, so I can't recommend it enough. Next up, I read Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, and I actually wrote down that I gave it 20 out of 5 stars. I was actually gonna stop reading the series until it was completely released, but as you can see, I couldn't contain myself and I had to read this book, and I really loved it. This is book 5 in the Throne of Glass series, and it follows Selena Sadrothian, who is an assassin and is actually an onion because she has way too many layers, and this book was completely brutal. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite book in the entire series. Nothing can compare to The Assassin's Blade, but this is pretty close up there. If you haven't picked this series up, you need to do that as soon as possible. I don't know, Sarah J. Maas is just a phenomenal author in my opinion, and I can't get enough of her. Next up, I read The Bosses by Callista Fox. This is part of the Billionaires, and it follows the love lives of this group of girlfriends. The first one followed Jewel, and this one follows Bailey. This is an erotica novel, so I don't recommend it for readers under 18, but I ended up giving this novel 4 out of 5 stars. I actually loved this main character way more than the first one, and I related to her so much since she is another book nerd. The thing about the series is that it follows a taboo topic. To me, it's pretty diverse, and I love the way that Callista Fox handles everything in this novel. It's not just about the steamy scenes, there is some depth to these novels that I really appreciate. And if you're over 18, I definitely recommend this trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy because the group of girlfriends is only 3, but who knows? Next up, I read Rain the Earth by A.C. Goggin. I think that's how you say her last name. But I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. And it follows this girl who has to give up her freedom in order to marry the king of an enemy territory for peace. This king is adamant about wiping away all of the magic from the land. And we soon find out that our main character is not so safe. And I absolutely loved her character development throughout this entire novel. It took me quite a while to get into this book. I was kind of confused about the magic system, but it ended up clearing away all the questions that I had. And the last few chapters were the thing that made me bump up my 4-star rating to a 5. I didn't expect how savage this book was gonna get, and I loved every moment of it. AC is one of my favorite authors now, and I can't wait for the sequel. And the last book that I read in January was How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather, and it follows Samantha Mather, who has to move to Salem with her stepmother. But if you know anything about the Salem witch trials, is that Mather isn't quite a popular last name. And it just follows Samantha as she struggles with all the history that her last name brings and all of the backlash that the town ends up experiencing. I gave this 3.8 out of 5 stars only because I didn't really care for any of the characters. I loved the setting, but I didn't see as much as I wanted to. But the only thing that saved this novel for me was the ghost that appeared in this novel. At first, I didn't like him at all. I had such a ridiculous dislike towards him, but he managed to change my mind and actually made me enjoy this novel. But I still recommend this if you love Salem and witches, because I managed to read the sequel right after this one. And let's just say that I enjoyed the sequel more than this one. But I'm not going to talk about that one today because I did read it in the month of February, so stay tuned for that. But that brings me to the end of this video. Those were all of the books that I read in the months of November, December, and January. Let me know what you read in those months and if you liked any of the books that you read. I'm pretty happy that I liked my reads. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about today. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm planning on hosting a giveaway as soon as I hit 100 subscribers, so if you can help me out, I would really appreciate it. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye!